Messmer the Impaler. Let's talk about him. Messmer is the son of Radagon and Marika. Messmer was also cursed with the Abyssal Serpent, which Marika sealed away by replacing one of his eyes with one of her seals. Now, Messmer's dialogue is by far the most interesting in all of Elden Ring, in my opinion. I'm going to speak his dialogue and indicate when they occur, and then we're going to break it down as we go along. Now, when we enter the arena, we hear, "Mongrel intruder, thou art tarnished, it seemeth. Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light? Yet my purpose standeth unchanged. Those stripped of the grace of gold shall meet death in the embrace of Messmer's flame." So we're going to break down this first piece of dialogue we get from Messmer. When he first sees us, Messmer is more or less shocked. He insults us by calling us a mongrel intruder. Mongrel is more meant to be an insult, basically calling us a dog. He even asks out loud to his mother, Marika, "Would you truly have a tarnished as your lord, as the Elden Lord?" Now, keep in mind, tarnished are graceless by nature. After we were basically kicked out of the lands between by Marika with Godfrey, we ultimately lose our grace in the process of our more or less exile. A little while ago, I made a video on the Outer Gods and how they all kind of had their own intentions. And I think this kind of shows, even with the players, the characters in Elden Ring, whether they're aware of, say in this case, the greater will, or not aware, or just completely forget that their existence. But regardless, each one has their own agenda. And most of the characters, if not all the characters, don't know that the greater will gave us life again and basically beckoned us to become the new Elden Lord. Now, when Messmer defeats us, he states his last two lines: "Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Messmer's flame." The interesting thing about that line and how he delivers it is that he delivers it in such an odd way, almost like it's a slogan that he's tired of hearing and tired of saying. We hear Knight Queelign utter the very same words when he first invades us in the Land of Shadows. "Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Messmer's flame." Now, this is clearly some battle cry or a warning that was given just before a persecution of graceless individuals. Furthermore, I think it speaks to the fact that there is a question on how long Messmer's been spewing out this line and to how many people, where he seems tired and just over the idea. It reminds me of someone who works at a call center. Speaking from experience, my bosses would have you say this line over and over again. It would prompt on the screen and the call was recorded, so if we didn't say it, we would end up hearing it later from our bosses saying, "You didn't say the line. You're supposed to say the line." Now, maybe in the beginning we used to say, the lines with enthusiasm, but now the script is more of a chore than it is a choice, and I feel like in some ways that may be the case for Messmer. Now, moving on to his second phase transition, he says, "I will not suffer a lord devoid of light. O mother, forgive me. Soon, tarnished, wilt thou be taken in the jaws of the abyssal serpent, shorn of light." Upon defeating the player in the second phase, he says, "O lightless creature, embrace thine oblivion, as shall I." And after the fight, after we beat him, he says, "Mother, Marika, a curse upon thee." Messmer shares the same fate with his sister Melina, in that halfway through his fight we see the true power that he wields. This transition, or the increase in power as it were, comes at a cost though. We as the Tarnished are once again bringing a demigod to their ultimate limit, and regardless of their motivation, they will not go down without a fight. He even asks his mother for forgiveness because he knows what this means. All his life, Marika and Messmer have struggled to keep the abyssal serpent at bay. Messmer sacrificed one of his eyes to seal it, but in the end he broke the seal anyway. It was almost as if it was for nothing. And in Messmer's mind, despite the fact that his very own mother chose a Tarnished to be the new Elden Lord, he still upholds his duty to destroy those without grace. I do want to make a small side note. While I'm not sure that there is any evidence to suggest otherwise, I want to point out that Marika seems to only be active during Messmer's life and is taking an active role to suppress his darker desires, for lack of a better term. We don't see this behavior with Miquella and his eternal youth, and we certainly don't see it with Melina and her scarlet rot. Now, we know Radagon and Miquella were close, but there's nothing to suggest that Marika had any kind of relationship with the twin prodigies. This was just a small thought I had while editing the video. Just let me know what you think in the comments, or if there's anything that, any evidence to suggest otherwise. Now back to the video. And so upon his defeat, Messmer realizes all the work and effort he has given to ensure his mother's success were in vain. While he may not know what happened to her in the lands between, the fact remains that Marika abandoned him. How can she task him with defending Grace when the new Elden Lord is one without Grace? How can she send him on this warpath against the Hornsen and have him bear the weight and the guilt and responsibility of destroying an entire people only to leave him behind when all is said and done? I have a theory. Let's look at Messmer's Kindling description. It reads, "The kindling that burned inside Messmer the Impaler, a dark thing eaten away by a wicked serpent, burns the sealing tree said to be found by the old Rao ruins. Messmer, much like his younger sister, bore a vision of fire." I think it was Messmer's kindling that Marika was afraid of. She had sent Messmer on this campaign to rid the Tower folk of Belarut and burned it down. I think deep down Marika feared this fire because she knew it would destroy her order. For starters, we know Melina, Messmer's younger sister, was destined to burn the Erd tree. Melina points us in the direction of the mountaintops after our fight with Morgoth when we've learned that the thorns are keeping us out of the Erd tree. The mountaintops are where the last of the fire giants lives, and the fire giant remembrance reads, "Upon realizing the flames of their forge would never die, Queen Marika marked him with a curse. O trifling giant, mayst thou tend thy flame for eternity." Now, one could make the argument that because Messmer was sealed away in the lands of shadow, Melina's birth was simply the universe correcting itself. This is a subject in Souls, and I do plan to delve a little deeper in a later video, but the fact remains, Messmer's fire, Messmer's kindling, would have been the thing to destroy the Erd tree had he any desire to take over Marika's Golden Order. Now, would he have ever done it? Who's to say? He clearly had no desire to rule, but if he ever found a way to leave the lands of shadow, he certainly had the means to reinvent the world, or at the very least destroy it. I think it's worth noting that there could be several reasons why Marika left Messmer behind, his flame being one of them. One has to believe that just as she was ascending to godhood, she knew well before she was going to have to leave her son behind. Messmer's remembrance reads, "A malevolent snake writhed within Messmer, and so his very mother plucked out his eye and put it in its place a seal of grace. Yet having done so, her field compelled her to secret away her child within the realm of shadow, hidden away, keeping the company with the original sin and a hatred that would not be confined." And so there you have it. Marika feared Messmer's flame. We have heard it in the base game from the finger readers and Melina herself that burning the Erd tree was the original sin, and so Messmer's mere existence would have always lingered as a threat to the Golden Order. Messmer is probably one of my favorite fights and characters, and I hope you've enjoyed this small deep dive into his character. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know by liking the video, commenting, following, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.